A Mortal's Journey to Immortality Episode 222. In the previous episode, after returning to the Drifting Cloud Sect, Han Li found himself once again drawn into the great turmoil between the Heavenly South cultivators and the invading Moulan tribes. Summoned to a high council, he sat among the region's most powerful Nascent Soul cultivators, where grim news filled the air. The leaders of the Nine Nations Union revealed that the Moulan forces were far stronger than anyone had anticipated. Entire regions had fallen, powerful formations were on the verge of collapse, and even 3 Nascent Soul cultivators had already perished. As Han Li listened, he learned of strange new enemies, spell warriors who wielded eerie treasures capable of trapping a Nascent Soul, preventing even the strongest from escaping death. More unsettling still, these warriors seemed to devour souls on the battlefield, their nature blurring the line between human and demon. Sensing that the war was shifting into something far more dangerous, Han Li quietly deduced that the Moulan no longer sought a slow war of attrition. Instead, they were preparing a devastating, decisive strike. And the episode 222 continues. After Lady Qi pondered for a moment, she said, "Although fellow Taoist Han's words are very likely, they are still only a guess." Her tone was calm yet serious as she reminded everyone that such assumptions should be discussed only among Nascent Soul cultivators. Revealing it to others could cause unnecessary chaos. Still, she warned that if the Moulan truly intended for an all-out war, their divine sages would certainly take action, and late Nascent Soul spell warriors were far beyond what they could handle. She planned to inform Elder Wei Wuxia and see if the 3 great cultivators could gather to confront the threat. The shriveled old man among them quickly nodded in agreement. Understanding the gravity of the situation, the others followed suit, realizing this was not a matter to be taken lightly. Soon after, they began to discuss details, how to dispatch reinforcements to slow down the Moulan army, and how to buy time for their sects and alliances to prepare for the looming conflict. Once the meeting ended, Han Li left the hall alongside Senior Marshal Brother Lu and the child Fire Dragon. As the 3 stepped out into the open air, Han Li suddenly frowned, sensing something unusual. Elder Lu, noticing his expression, asked with surprise, "Is there something wrong, Junior Marshal Brother?" Han Li shook his head slightly. "It's nothing. There's just an old acquaintance who wishes to see me. I'm afraid it might take a little while." Senior Marshal Brother Lu, "Brother Lan, please go ahead without me. I'll return shortly." Elder Lu nodded kindly. "Of course, we'll head back to discuss what actions the Heavenly Tao Alliance should take and send word to our Senior Marshal Brother." The child Fire Dragon also smiled and agreed. Han Li cupped his hands in salute before turning and walking away, his expression unreadable. Elder Lu stood at the entrance, watching Han Li's departing figure with a trace of unease. The child Fire Dragon, seeing this, smiled knowingly and said, "Brother Lu seems worried. Could it be that you've already guessed who's calling him?" Elder Lu's voice remained calm, though there was a hint of uncertainty. "Worried? What is there to be worried about?" The child Fire Dragon's smile deepened. Fellow Taoist Han came from Yellow Maple Valley. Eccentric Lingu, the Nascent Soul ancestor of that sect, is nearing the end of his lifespan, just like your Senior Marshal Brother. For a great sect such as Yellow Maple Valley, losing its sole Nascent Soul cultivator would be disastrous. It's only natural that eccentric Lingu would be anxious. If anyone sent Han Li that voice transmission, it must have been him. Elder Lu hesitated, then asked, "How does Brother Lan know of Han Li's origins? I don't recall ever mentioning them." The child Fire Dragon chuckled softly. "There was no need. When a sect suddenly gains a young new elder of Nascent Soul stage, it naturally draws attention. The Ancient Sword sect simply investigated." Elder Lu had no words to refute this. After a moment of silence, he sighed. Han Li said he's only meeting an acquaintance. If he truly wanted to return to Yellow Maple Valley, he would have done so long ago. Why wait until now? The child Fire Dragon shook his head. "Perhaps, but that old fox Lingu must have a plan. If he's asked Han Li to meet, then he likely has confidence in persuading him." Elder Lu fell quiet again, his brows furrowing slightly. Eventually, he sighed helplessly. "Let it be. If Junior Marshal Brother Han truly wishes to return, neither I nor my Senior Marshal Brother can stop him. His fate is his own. Meanwhile, Han Li had already arrived at a small, quiet street. His sharp eyes swept across the surroundings until they landed on a modest 2-story pavilion with a wooden banner that simply read, T. 2 Foundation Establishment cultivators in yellow robes stood guard at the entrance. When they saw Han Li approach, they immediately bowed respectfully. Greetings, Senior Han. Martial Ancestor is waiting for you inside. Han Li nodded without a word and stepped through the doorway. The interior was hushed, almost eerily so. Not a single voice could be heard. He ascended the stairs to the 2nd floor, where a familiar figure sat calmly at an octagonal table, eccentric Lingu. The very same elder he had seen earlier in the meeting hall. The old cultivator's face was sallow and thin, and his yellow robes hung loosely over his frail frame. Yet, despite his withered appearance, his eyes still held the sharp glint of a cunning mind. He sat silently, sipping his tea as if nothing in the world could disturb his calm. Han Li approached and sat opposite him. On the table, a second teacup had already been placed, waiting for him. Without a word, eccentric Lingu waved his hand, and the teapot floated up on its own, gracefully pouring tea into Han Li's cup before settling back down. The spirit tea here is quite good, the old man said slowly, his voice soft but steady. Will you not give it a taste? Han Li smiled faintly, lifted the cup, and observed the clear green liquid. After a small sip, he nodded. It is indeed decent, a grade higher than ordinary spirit tea. Lingu chuckled lightly. It seems fellow Taoist Han is also fond of tea. I chose this place well. Then. But Han Li wasn't one for small talk. He looked directly at the old man and said flatly, surely you didn't call me here just to share tea. If you have something to say, please say it. Lingu's expression remained calm, his eyes narrowing slightly. Since you wish to be direct, I won't waste time. Would fellow Taoist Han be willing to return to Yellow Maple Valley as an elder? Han Li didn't move. His gaze dropped to the teacup in his hand, and his voice was quiet but steady. Return to Yellow Maple Valley? Lingu's tone hardened slightly. Yes, needless to mention the grievances of the past. I must tell you the truth. My lifespan is almost over. At best, I have 20 years left before my death. If you return, Yellow Maple Valley will be yours. Surely you wouldn't hold onto old grudges after all this time. Han Li raised his head and looked straight at the old man. His expression was calm. I no longer care about the past. In your position, I might have made the same decisions. But I am now an elder of the Drifting Cloud Sect. I have no intention of joining another sect. You should look for someone else. Lingu's face darkened. Of course I know you're with the Drifting Cloud Sect. But that sect already has 2 other elders. Don't you wish to stand alone, to hold all the power yourself? A faint sneer curved Han Li's lips. You misunderstand. I didn't join a sect to gain power. I only needed a quiet place to cultivate. I have no interest in ruling over others. Lingu frowned but quickly regained his composure. You don't realize how much power could benefit your cultivation. If you became the sole leader, you wouldn't have to search for rare medicines or materials. They'd come to you. You'd have unmatched status in the cultivation world. And what about your old sect members? Many of your generation remain in Yellow Maple Valley. Without a nascent soul protector, they could be wiped out overnight. Don't you care what becomes of them? Han Li smiled faintly and set down his cup. I have all the spirit medicines and materials I need as an elder of the Drifting Cloud Sect. As for reputation, it means nothing to me. Sects rise and fall. It's a cycle as old as cultivation itself. If Yellow Maple Valley's fate is to perish, so be it. As for my old sect members, he said, his tone turning cold and final, I will not be involved with them. May fate treat them kindly. And that wraps up this episode. In this part, we saw Han Li navigate a situation that was both politically and emotionally complex. Centered around his old sect, Yellow Maple Valley, and its only remaining nascent soul cultivator, eccentric Lingu. The episode highlighted the delicate balance between past loyalties, personal freedom, and the responsibilities that come with power. Lady Qi, Elder Lu, and the other cultivators carefully analyzed the imminent threat from the Moulan, discussing how to send reinforcements and coordinate their forces. Their cautious planning underscored just how high the stakes were and how even small mistakes could have disastrous consequences. Meanwhile, Han Li separated from his companions to meet eccentric Lingu, who had invited him with a clear purpose. Lingu, aware of his own limited lifespan of only 20 years, tried to persuade Han Li to return to Yellow Maple Valley as an elder, appealing both to his sense of duty toward his former sect members and the opportunity to gain unrivaled power and influence within the cultivation world. The tension in their meeting was palpable, as Han Li carefully weighed the offer against his own principles and priorities. Despite the potential benefits, Han Li remained steadfast and calm. He made it clear that his loyalty now lay with the Drifting Cloud Sect, not his old sect, and that he had no desire for authority, control, or status. Even when Lingu appealed to his emotions by mentioning the possible danger to the remaining members of Yellow Maple Valley, Han Li chose to focus on his own path, demonstrating his independence, clarity of purpose, and unwavering resolve. This episode reveals not only Han Li's strength as a cultivator but also his wisdom and maturity. He is guided by his own principles rather than external pressures or emotional ties. If you enjoyed this episode or found it engaging, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can receive notifications for the latest episodes in Han Li's journey. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.